What was supposed to be a promising season full of hope and NFL-level talent has quickly not turned into that. And is it all Brent Brennan's fault? And what will the Wildcats do about Brent Brennan? It's another edition of Southwest Bias.
Get that stuff out of here. It's Southwest Bias.
Brought to you by Branded Bills. Elevate your brand with Branded Bills. I'm wearing mine right now. The perfect headwear and apparel. Use code PHNX for 20% off your first order. Mike Luke, who is joining me today, has his Branded Bills as well. And of course, coming live from Studio K, presented by Circle K. Download the Inner Circle app today. Join the Inner Circle. Save money on gas, snacks, and drinks. All of that good stuff. But speaking of not good stuff, Mike, how's that Arizona Wildcats football season going so far?
You know, Eric, I've told you before, you're a man that you're a prodigious individual. You got a very bright future. You are wise. You're very natural on air. I am going to push this back on you first before
Me?
I give it. What do you see from an outsider's perspective, and then I will give you my perspective. You first, Erik Ruby.
I see almost exactly what I expected to see, and I'm not even saying that in a way like, oh, patting myself on the back, but I see a coaching staff that's ill-equipped to take advantage of the talent that's on Arizona's roster. And there was one thing I never denied going into the season, and that you guys had talent. A lot of it. A lot of very high-level talent. And not a lot of teams have that same level of, hey, let's go into the season thinking we might have 3 first-round picks. Now, I know that's changed maybe a little bit due to performances and whatnot this season.
There's still 3 first-round picks on ESPN, which makes it even worse.
Does make it even worse, right? So what I'm seeing is Brent Brennan just doesn't know what to do with what he has, and he's squandering an opportunity with one of the most talented rosters that your school's ever seen.
All right, that's your edition of Southwest Bite. No, I'm just kidding. Yes,
I mean, pretty much. We can wrap that up.
Everything you said, yeah, I probably got to pay some bills, though, in the meantime. But everything you said is spot on. Listen, man, I mean, he's, and I'll love to be wrong. I'm wrong on most things, and I would love to say my bad, Brent Brennan. But, man, this has been rough. He's been in over his head, and he's been in over his head from day one. Listen, when he took the job, the first thing he said was how much this job meant to him and about how it was his dream job and about how he's never taken anything more seriously. Then, like 2 press conferences later or whenever it was, he said he was asked about engaging the community, like Dilly does up the road. You guys, obviously, yeah, I mean, you guys got pretty good access there. And he said, no, don't really think that's my job. That's for other people to do. No, I'm good. And he has not done that. He has not engaged in the community at all. He has essentially walled himself off. He has curtained himself off. How about that? For people that know. And he has hid the team as well. It basically is a Fort Knox type situation where you can't get in, you can't get out, and which is fine if you win. If you don't win, people are going to have no reason to support you. None. Which was basically that was my first big red flag about him at the beginning of the year was how in the world are you? And he's a CEO head coach. He always says, I don't call plays. That's not my thing. Well, I'm glad that you don't call plays on offense. That's for sure. And he said, I'm a CEO. I oversee everything. So what are you doing? You don't engage in the community. You don't let your players get out of the community. You got curtains up over the weight room now. I mean, I guess that's maybe the CEO approach. And you're presiding over one of the most disappointing teams in college football. And here's the other problem, too, that you have, is that the player regression has been immense under him. Now, I've always been of the belief that first-round picks are first-round picks. T-Mac could play at Pima Community College, and he's a first-round pick. Tecario Davis, Jonas Avenea, if they're not first-round picks, they're second-round picks. They are. You've got enough tape on him. But all the other players, Noah Fifita looks like he's never played football before. And this is one of the most cerebral football players that, Greg Biggins 24/7 said that he's ever scouted. And last year, he was the freshman All-American. He's running for his life. The offensive line returned 3 of 5 starters and 3 high-level starters. A guy like Wendell Moy has taken a massive step backwards. I mean, let's be honest. The offense looks atrocious. There's no tempo. It's all slow down. What you saw in camp where there were quick hitters, you were trying to get in and out of the huddle, there's been none of that. And the thing that they compounded with is when you're down 14 points in the fourth quarter, they try to bleed the clock. A unusual approach when you are losing in the fourth quarter.
Keep them on their toes.
Yeah. Keep them on their toes. Watch this. They've never seen that before, Erik Ruby.
Zig when they zag, man. That's always what the good coaches do.
Exactly. Chestnut checkers, man. But no, he looks lost, man. And then he, he gets upset about, I honestly, man, the only thing I'm going to say is I think Dwayne Aquina, the defensive coordinator, I like him a great deal. He's 67 going on 37. He is fantastic for losing 6 or 7 guys due to injury. He still put together a fairly competent product on the field. I love Dwayne Aquina, but man, Brent Brennan screwed this one up from day one with the offense, and I feel like, I tweeted this out a while back. I feel that this school has let down Noah Fifita and people like that, and I think Brent Brennan is at the top of the list for letting them down, period.
I mean, especially because it was such a big deal that they stayed. Yeah. Right? After Fish left, it was this huge deal. They're staying with U of A and they're investing in U of A, and this is what you need. And they're bucking the trend.
They were backing the A.
Yeah, they're back in the A, and they're bucking the trend of what current state of college football is, which is I'm dipping for more money. I'm dipping for more opportunities. They didn't do that. And as much as, I would give you guys guff and everything throughout the entire offseason, like that is absolutely a testament to the type of person that Brent Brennan was, at least then, right? Like if he's not investing in the community, it seems like he was at least investing in these players and keeping them there. But now you're sitting back months later and you're thinking, is that just because of the character of guys like Tetairoa McMillan, of guys like Jacob Manu, of guys like Noah Fifita? Because the way that I'm hearing it from you, and obviously you're way more in tune with all of this than I am, because I'm just on the ASU beat, but of course I keep very close tabs on you guys. Is there any world or any reality where this is on the players? Not fully, but like, is it really as simple as this is Brent Brennan and Brent Brennan's the problem and point blank period, end of discussion? Like, is it that simple of an answer?
I'd say it's 85-15. Because the problem here, Erik, is that I have a track record of these football players. I have a track record of what they have been able to do in the past. And I'll use, because again, I'll use a Wendell Moy for an example on the offensive line. This guy was projecting out as a 3rd or a 4th round offensive lineman. He has been not good this year at all. I know Wendell Moy can play. I had 2 years of watching Wendell Moy play. I know that he can play. Noah Fifita. We all know what we saw last year. And again, you could say you lost Jacob Cowing. Cool. I get all of that, but you don't just forget how to play football. And that to me is the problem. And with Brennan, the other thing that he was asked this about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was wild to have somebody say this at midseason or almost at midseason. What's the problem with the offense? You mentioned.
Oh my gosh, I remember this.
He said, "What's the problem with the offense?" And he said after the game, he's like, well, got some guys moving in the wrong direction. So then he was asked to clarify that at the presser. Gets worse. He says, were you talking about the receivers? And he said, no, everybody's going in the wrong direction. Dude, everybody, you're a head coach, a CEO head coach, mind you, that should be able to sprinkle your knowledge with and out. And he said, everybody is going in the wrong direction. Well, that's on you, dude. And then every single presser, after they get blown out by a team with less talent or less high-end talent, he says, well, I just got to do a better job coaching. We're going to get back. And it's the same exact thing week in and week out. It's just been incompetent. There's no other way to put it. It's been incompetent, And like I said, I would love to be wrong eventually on this, but this doesn't feel good. Listen, this is Arizona football. We're used to watching some bad football teams down here in Tucson, some bad football teams. Kevin Sumlin, only a few years removed. This is bad. Now, listen, I think he takes his job more seriously than Kevin Sumlin, but I don't see a lot of competence from Brent Brennan right now. I'll put it to you like that.
Yeah, I don't know if you can argue that he doesn't care. I think it'd be really weird if he was faking the whole caring thing, but you could care a lot about something and still not be the right person to do it. Like, unfortunately, that's something that just happens in life. You can feel like, oh, I want this, but are you built for it? Are you made for it? And it was a big jump. And like, again, I'm not trying to like take a victory lap here.
You should take a victory lap, because I'd be taking a victory lap if I was you. Take that victory lap.
Your guys' record is a big enough victory lap for me anyway. Like, I don't need to punch down to the lowly below 500 University of Arizona Wildcats.
All right, now buzz off with that one at this point.
Okay. No, but seriously, like the jump from San Jose State to a school like Arizona. Now, if this was Arizona, like after the Sumlin years, right, where you are kind of bottom of the barrel, you need to be built up. That feels like, okay, Brent Brennan's going in with no expectations. Brent Brennan's going in to try to build a culture, right? It's okay if he doesn't have everything together right away. Now, I'm not saying that he would still be good. I'm not saying it would be a complete opposite, but that's a better situation for a guy like him. Right? Low pressure, just, get in with the guys, make them like you. Oh, you might lose games, but eventually you turn it around, right? Like that's what you do with San Jose State. You turn it into somehow, some way, a winning football program. But you come into a school like this right now that has been starved for football success, and you finally got a taste of it. And not just like a taste as in you sniffed the top 25. You had a good season with promise and Jed Fish dipped. No. You guys
had a better season than ASU's had in 25 years.
All right. you come in and you have very high expectations. You guys were talking college football playoffs. You guys were talking like winning the Big 12.
Winning the national championship. Get out of the way, Georgia.
I don't know if you took it that far.
I didn't take it that far.
But the expectations were certainly there. And to be the type of guy to come in and to take that and to actually succeed with it. And you can hate on how Jed Fish left all you want. I think that completely in the right for doing that and for despising him. You cannot argue he is miles and miles and miles and miles ahead when it comes to coaching football than Brent Brennan. It's not even close. It's not even close.
So let's talk Tommy Lloyd. I totally
no, right, but that's what I'm saying, dude. Did you expect right now, or not even right now, like 2 weeks ago, that fans would already be looking towards basketball season?
2 weeks ago, yes, not before the season though. 2 weeks ago, I could already tell where this was
but I
headed.
mean, like as far as 2 weeks ago, people were already looking ahead to that. I mean, we got Wildcats fans in here, man. They've been talking about basketball for a bit, and sure, basketball is great for you guys.
Where can they find you guys, by the way? What time? Where can they find you guys during the week? By the time.
Oh, they want to find us? 1:30 on weekdays. We got Cam Scattaboo today in the studio, just so you know. Plus post games as well. Not to brag, but
you should brag.
My point in all of this is you guys have lost momentum, not just on the field, but off the field, with fan support, with fan buy-in, with media support, with media buy-in, with coverage, with everything. It's been handcuffed. It's been siphoned off. There's a kink in the hose, and it's just not running anymore, right? And it was flowing very, very, very freely 6-7 months ago.
I like that. That's good. No, there's more than a kink in the hose. The hose is completely plugged.
And that's a massive problem, Mike. And I'm not just talking about this from an ASU perspective. I'm talking about this from just you're trying to run and build a program. If in the current day of college athletics, you need a couple things. The big one being money. And how do you get money, Mike?
Yeah. By winning football games, period.
And
engaging the community
to want to support you.
Yes.
And how do you do that? You
by winning football games, engaging the community. I
don't know what to do either.
I'm not a smart guy, man, but I'm telling you, man, I mean, there are certain things that you could do. Jed Fish came in here and they went 1-11 in the first year, and everybody was bought in because he was out in the community. He was out bringing pizza to frats. He was having slip and slides or doing TikToks with the kids. Things like that. I sounded so old. TikToks with the kids.
I can't lie. That did sound pretty old.
Yeah. But, we got it. I don't care if it was disingenuous or not. He did it. This dude doesn't do any of that, and I don't know what to say, man. It's been a disaster. It's been an utter disaster.
Well, we are going to talk about the big question, which is, do you abandon ship? And what are the possibilities of stopping you from doing that if you think it's the right move? But first, I want to remind you guys, this episode of Southwest Bias is brought to you by Branded Bills. Of course, I'm wearing my Branded Bills right now. I'm wearing my Branded Bills almost every single day. I counted out. I have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Branded Bills hats, all ASU themed because they're so comfortable. They have snapbacks, truckers, fitted, beanies, and more, plus t-shirts. And you can get your own brand on there. I know we're going to be getting some PHNX ones. And listen to this. You hear that?
Oh, that's so sexy. Oh,
that is a nice rubber logo that is not going anywhere. The stitching's not coming out. It is the perfect hat. And right now, you can get it for 20% off your first order. Head to brandonbills.com. Use code PHNX for 20% off that first order. And I must remind you, as the Arizona Wildcats stare at the floor of what their season could be, make sure your floor is a lot prettier than that. And do that over at Empire today. Because Empire today is here to make sure you have the right floors at the right price. But the right price doesn't mean the lowest price, because Mike, if you have the cheapest food, is it the best food?
Sometimes, but not usually.
You know what I mean, right? Like sometimes it hits, but if you want to make this investment, right? If you want to get flooring that lasts for a long time, that looks good, you can't just go with the cheapest, because if you go with the cheapest, you're going to have to replace it in 6 months to a year, and you're not going to like that. No, Empire Today is making sure that you don't have any of that. They're easy, they're quick, and they're convenient. They'll get somebody in your home today. They have a virtual floor visualizer. You hold your phone up, you see how your floors look in your home, in your apartment complex. If you're a landlord, if you're a business owner, we have Empire Today flooring in here, and it's held up fantastically. And surprisingly, for a podcast network and shows and all of that, we do a lot of damage to our floors. So a lot of moving sets, a lot of things going around. Empire Today holds up wonderfully. Plus, you can get $350 off when you schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners of Southwest Bias can receive $350 off when they use promo code PHNX. Some restrictions do apply, but see EmpireToday.com/PHNX for details. Simple question, Mike, with I'm sure a not so simple answer. Should the University of Arizona fire Brent Brennan?
Well, I mean, if money wasn't an object, yeah.
Okay, see, that was going to be my follow-up. In a magic world,
yeah, sure.
You would
terrible.
Right now, you say he's out the door, you're already looking for your new head coach, or you're naming an interim. You would do that, no questions asked.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know what else to say, man. I mean, he was handed a really good product, and he's been an utter failure. And here's the problem. I don't think that there's any reason to expect they're going to be better next season. You don't get better by losing T-Mac. You don't get better by losing Jonas Savanea or Tecario Davis. And again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But, man, he's been a disaster. I mean, at every single level, he has been an utter disaster. I don't know what else to say. I mean, if he was out there in the community, trying to, drum up support, saying, listen, guys, I'm going to get this going, this and that. No, he doesn't do any of that stuff. He's basically been an F across the board. I don't know anybody off record. And, like I said, some ex-players get mad at me. I don't care. I don't know anybody off record that covers this team that thinks this thing is ending well. That you just know it when you see it. You know when you see somebody in over their head when you see it. This dude looks in over his head. And he looks over his head in a big way. This is a guy, to give you an idea, let's use the Colorado game for an example. He starts out the game with a not a fake kick, a onside kick.
Yep.
And
crazy.
Yeah. Of course it doesn't work. But, whatever. Then you can't stop Colorado. They're scoring touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. You're down 21-7. You have the ball at the Colorado 34-yard line. It's 4th and 2. You need touchdowns in this game. You don't need field goals. You know what you do? You trot out the field goal kicker to try a 51-yard field goal that would make it 21-10 when Colorado is scoring touchdowns. Well, not only is that a terrible idea, because who cares if it becomes 21-10 at that point, the kicker missed it. And he's a good kicker, so I'm not beating up the kicker at all. But at the same point, 21-10, that's just amateur stuff, dude. Everybody was like, all right, they're going to try to draw him off sides. They're going to do something, and then he kicked it. That's just kind of emblematic of what he's been up to this year. He's been terrible. There's no way around it. And there's nothing that indicates to anybody that you look at it and you're like, next year, get his own guys in. It's just being incompetent. It's the best way I could put it.
So all hope is lost because they're not going to fire him.
I mean,
where's that money coming from?
What's that?
Where's that money coming from to fire him?
I don't. Here's what I'm going to say on that one. I would tend to agree with you, but sometimes desperate times do call for desperate measures. If you were to lose out this season and you have, you can be looking at 22,000 people at your games next year. At some point, you also know that, you got the buyout, you got to get a new staff in. But at the same time, I don't know if this team goes 4-8 this year, for example. I think and especially too, and again, I get the money aspect, I get all of that. But at some point, though, I think it's still difficult to bring him back if you go 4-8 because nobody will go to your games whatsoever. Yeah. And at that point, do you risk, the hemorrhaging of, money going into games, all kinds of stuff. So I wouldn't say never on that one. It's unlikely, but I think it also kind of depends on how this season ends as well.
Well, there's one place that I know for sure that no matter what happens this season, you should be following along. And that is the AZ Wildcats podcast right here on PHNX Sports. Of course, Mike, the wonderful host of that with his wonderful cast of characters that hop in and out every single day. You can find that 5 days a week. And yes, the University of Arizona is entering basketball season, which should be a much better time for all you Wildcats fans. What's up?
Can we talk one thing? I want to take a small victory lap, a very small victory lap while you run miles around me.
Go.
Can we talk Jeff Sims?
Ha! And that was another edition of Southwest. No, I'm kidding. Sure. What do you want to talk about with Jeff Sims? I thought he played fine.
They didn't let him throw the ball.
Yeah, I don't think that's his fault.
Well, they also didn't let him be. Yes, it's not his fault. But if you have a quarterback that you go into a game and you don't let him throw the ball, isn't that kind of an indictment on
I get it. I think that they said a lot of things about Jeff Sims that they didn't believe themselves, and that inherently is a problem. I get hyping your own guy up, but calling him a Sunday guy and then not letting him throw is just, it's asinine to me. I don't think Jeff Sims is great, but I think there was probably 3 or 4 things in that Cincinnati game that were much bigger problems than Jeff Sims. And I do think that once they started to take those handcuffs off of him a little bit, you saw him play better and think a little bit less. I mean, he's one deep ball, like Jordan Tyson tripped over himself, and that would have been like a 50-yard completion on the dot for Jeff Sims. I don't think he's as good as Sam Levitt. I don't think he's the greatest quarterback that's ever graced planet Earth, but I think he's a perfectly serviceable backup.
All right. Like I said, well, you tell that to Dilly then. Tell him to let the beast loose, man.
We'll let Scat know when he's in studio today. We'll pass the message along. Little game of PHNX telephone.
I ask for very small things, Erik Ruby.
Well, and I will try to deliver. I'll try to deliver. Mike, make sure that everybody's checking out Mike, Luke, and the AZ Wildcats podcast. Like I said, 5 days a week. If you want to get a little bit more of me because you're psychotic, I'm everywhere. PHNX Sun Devils, 5 days a week. We got basketball post games coming up as well. Of course, ASU football on a bye week, but they're having a wonderful season. I don't know if you knew that, Mike. They're having a wonderful season.
Great last game. I agree. I saw it. I saw the last game. It was look good.
5 days a week right here on PHNX Sports. Plus, you can catch me on the PHNX Suns show. We just had opening night against the Clippers. Suns walked away with a W. We had our nice post-game show. You can check that out. Plus, come out to Gila River Resorts and Casinos Wild Horse Pass on Friday.
The Wave, the Gila River Wave.
Get the Wave. There. Come out, watch party, Suns, Lakers, and of course, you can catch a pre- and post-game show, plus some watch-alongs for every single one of the 82 regular season and plus postseason games, hopefully, for the Suns, all right here, all with me, Gerald, Espo, Lindsay, and Steven on PHNX Sports. But until then, until next week, it's been another edition of Southwest Bias.
Get that stuff out of here. It's Southwest Bias.